On July 20th, 1969, billions watched as a human being first stepped onto the lunar surface. While it was celebrated as humanity's ultimate achievement, a shadow of doubt remained. For some, it was nothing more than the century's biggest deception.
Picture this. It's July 20th, 1969. You're one of hundreds of millions of people glued to your TV, just holding your breath, as humanity tries to do the impossible. It was this moment of absolute triumph that almost immediately started to crumble under the weight of a huge, persistent doubt. A doubt that grew right out of the very images we were all watching. We all know those words, right? Neil Armstrong's immortal line beamed from the surface of the moon to a world that was just completely in awe. I mean, that one sentence, it wasn't just a success. It captured the spirit of a whole generation's ambition. And that is the question at the heart of one of the most stubborn conspiracy theories ever. The idea that this incredible moment, this peak of human achievement, was nothing more than an incredibly expensive movie, staged for the whole world to see. And this theory isn't just some old idea collecting dust. It keeps popping back up. Just recently, a video went viral that seemed to show a studio light literally falling from the ceiling during the moon landing. But, you know, a little bit of digging shows it wasn't some long-lost NASA blooper. Nope, it was a marketing video deliberately faked back in 2002. It's just a perfect example of how easy it is to cook up this kind of evidence. Okay, so let's dive into the original case against the landing. What are the big pieces of evidence that have kept this whole thing alive for more than half a century? Let's treat this like the prosecution's opening statement in a trial. All right, Exhibit A, and probably the most famous one, the American flag. The argument is super simple. There's no air on the moon, right? No wind. So, how in the world is that flag waving like it's in a backyard breeze? For a lot of people, this was the first thing that made them go, Next up, let's look at the sky. In every single photo from the lunar surface, the sky is just black, a deep, empty void, not one single star. Now you'd think that with no atmosphere getting in the way, the sky would be packed with brilliant stars, wouldn't you? And then you've got the shadows. This one's a bit of a mind bender. In some photos, the shadows from the astronauts and the equipment, they aren't parallel. They point in different directions. And the argument goes that proves there wasn't just one light source, the sun, but multiple lights, just like you'd find on a movie set. Now, I'll admit, those questions sound pretty compelling when you first hear them. But it turns out every single one has a really straightforward explanation. And it all comes down to some basic physics and photography. So let's break down the science of what our eyes are actually seeing here. So, about that waving flag. This is actually a fantastic piece of simple engineering. NASA knew a regular flag would just hang there, limp and lifeless. So they built it with a horizontal rod sticking out from the top to hold it open. That waving you see? It's not wind. It's just the ripples from the astronauts twisting the flagpole into the ground. And in a vacuum, with zero air to slow it down, it just kept on rippling. Okay, so what about the starless sky? Well, this one is all about photography 101. The moon's surface is being blasted with direct, unfiltered sunlight. So to get a good picture of the astronauts in their super bright white suits, the cameras had to have a really fast shutter speed. And those settings are just way too fast to capture the faint little dots of light from distant stars. It's exactly the same reason you can't see stars during the daytime here on Earth. And those crazy shadows? This one really comes down to a simple optical illusion. The moon isn't a flat studio floor. It's covered in hills, craters, and slopes. That uneven ground totally messes with perspective, making parallel shadows look like they're going in all sorts of directions. Plus, get this, the sun wasn't the only light source. You also had sunlight bouncing off the bright lunar dust and even light reflecting all the way from Earth, filling in some of those shadows. Look, poking holes in old photos is one thing. But if we step away from the pictures, there is a literal mountain of physical, solid evidence that the Apollo missions happened. And this is stuff that would be pretty much impossible to fake. 382 kilograms. That's more than 840 pounds. That is how much moon rock and soil the Apollo astronauts brought back to Earth. And these weren't just any old rocks. Some of them were older than any rock ever found on our own planet, giving us this incredible window into the birth of our solar system. Now, to really understand how massive that number is, let's compare it to what the competition was doing. The Soviet Union's robotic lunar missions, which were an amazing achievement, by the way, they managed to bring back a grand total of 326 grams, not kilograms, grams. The idea that the US could have faked bringing back 1,000 times more material, the technology simply didn't exist. And hidden inside those rocks was something totally cool, a brand new mineral that had never been seen on Earth before. Scientists named it armacolite, a little tribute to the three guys who brought it back: Armstrong, Aldrin, and Collins. It's like a mineral signature, proving that specific crew brought back those rocks.
And if all that isn't enough for you, just think about this. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union was tracking every single move the Apollo missions made. If there was even a hint of a fake, you better believe they would have screamed it to the world. But they said nothing. Total silence. And today, right now, scientists are bouncing lasers off mirrors the astronauts left on the moon to measure its distance with incredible precision. And we have new photos. Orbiters from Japan, India, and China have all snapped pictures of the landing sites. You can literally see the footprints and equipment still sitting there.
So with this absolute avalanche of evidence, the real question isn't, did we go? The real question is, why do so many people still want to believe that we didn't? And the answer? Well, it has less to do with the moon and a lot more to do with us.
Honestly, the sheer scale of the Apollo program. We're talking about 400,000 people working together with technology that was barely imaginable. Sometimes that truth is just so big, it's actually easier for our brains to believe in a secret plot. A good conspiracy theory taps into our natural distrust of big government and, let's face it, our love for a good story. It makes us feel like we're in on a secret.
You know, Neil Armstrong knew all about these theories, but he never seemed too bothered by them. He once said, "People love conspiracy theories. I know that someday somebody is going to go back and pick up that camera I left. I just love that. It's so calm, so completely confident in the truth."
And that really brings us to the final point here. The evidence is solid. It's verifiable. Anyone can check it. So the fact that the hoax theory still exists forces us to kind of look in the mirror. It really makes you wonder, what does our fascination with doubting our own greatest moments truly say about us? What does it say about our trust in science, in authority, and maybe even in our own potential to do amazing things?